Yes, hello, welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran, and I thought I'd just give you guys my opinion about the Payne Haas signing news with the South Sydney Rabbitohs on a 3-year deal from 2027, 2028, and 2029. I just thought I'd give you my reaction, just a quick update on the news, which I'll be doing on the podcast this year when there's signings, breaking news. I'll just give a 5-10 minute reaction. And I'd love you guys to leave a comment of your opinion, what you guys think of the signing news and breaking news that will come in season 2026. For me, what a fucking outstanding signing, obviously, for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And all of a sudden, you look at the Rabbitohs now and you think, yeah, they can make the finals. Maybe they're in the finals one year, maybe they're out, but you're genuinely not probably thinking right now that they are a massive premiership threat. But for those fucking 3 years, they will be. I mean, you look at their front row for next year. It could be Jai Arrow, 9 Brandon Smith, or for me, I actually genuinely think Jamie Humphries may transition into that dummy half role late at the later stages of the year. It could be, Jamie Humphries, 10 Payne Haas, 11 Tallis Duncan, 12 David Fafita, 13 Cameron Murray. Like that is such a great forward pack. And Jai Arrow, look, he may not be the player he was 3, 5, fucking 10 years ago when he debuted. I think it was 2015 for Brisbane, but like his leadership, and I remember when he went to the Gold Coast Titans, he wore the 13 jersey, Jai Arrow, and he was one of the best lock forwards in the game. He was really, really good, just such a hard-working player. And his experience and leadership at that South Sydney side, it is second to none. It's so good. For me, he's just a fantastic player, still very underrated. And if Billy Slater called him up this year in 2026 and said, mate, can you do a job for us off the bench or start him for Queensland, he'll do the fucking job. He's reliable, he's consistent, and, back to Payne Haas. That's exactly who he is. In my opinion, I was born in 1994. So when people talk about Glenn Lazarus, I never really properly saw him. I didn't properly start watching rugby league until 2001, 2002. So he retired at the end of the 99 premiership for the Melbourne Storm. And I think, history would say that he's the first player to win 3 premierships at 3 different clubs. And, from what I hear, Shane, I saw a lot of Shane Webke's career, fucking unbelievable player. Petro Civoniceva, when I think the best front rowers of all time, of players in the NRL era, or players that I've, been alive for. I think Glenn Lazarus, from what I've heard, but I didn't see overly much of him. But Shane Webke, Petro Civoniceva, unbelievable. I think that they're the best of the best. James Fisher Harris, I'd have up there. Moses Leota, like just the workhorses. The Bash brothers for Penrith, four premierships in a row as front rowers, unbelievable. But for me, Payne Haas is the best front rower I have ever seen. He is absolutely unbelievable. Like, this guy can go to a club. I genuinely believe, say if he signed with the Gold Coast Titans, or if he signed with a club that's struggling. I think originally he's from the Newcastle area. Say if he signed at the Knights, I think he could genuinely get them to, if Payne Haas went to Newcastle next year, I wouldn't say I'd think Newcastle could win the comp, but I think their premiership window would probably open a lot sooner than what it may do at the moment. And, it's not just now, like, he's halfway through his career now, Payne Haas. It's not just what he can do on the field, but it's the person he is off the field, the way in which he raises his family after what, he's been through. He's such a leader on and off the field. And I think, from what I hear and what I've read in articles, what he has done for his family is unbelievable at his age. Just an absolute role model, a mentor. And if I'm Wayne Bennett talking to Payne Haas, I think honestly, I know Cameron Murray's the captain of the club, and I think he will be for the next 10 years. But, it wouldn't be such a bad idea if they did a co-captaincy thing too with Payne Haas and Cameron Murray. Like, he's just a natural born leader, Payne Haas. He will take South Sydney from a side that South Sydney at the moment are very much like Manly, where, they could make the bottom 4, but fuck me, they could make the top 8. There's a world where they could make the top 4. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get with South Sydney. But I believe what Payne Haas will bring to the club is you're gonna start to know as a rugby league fan what you're going to get from South Sydney, and there will be an expectation that South Sydney at least make a grand final in those 3 years. Now, if you asked me this time last week, will South Sydney make a grand final in the 2020s? I'll say probably not in the remaining years, 26, 7, 8, 9. Now I think they probably will. Like, that's the fucking significance. And it's not just me saying this. I reckon a large part of the rugby league community would sit down and go, okay, fucking hell, just look at the forward pack. And look, it's no certainty that David Fafita is going to thrive at South Sydney, but for me, I think he will under Bennett. You look at Bennett I think Bennett debuted David Fafita at the Brisbane Broncos, and you look at Bennett and the way he can get the best out of most of the players, right? Now, if David Fafita, if his attitude's right, because I believe there's only so much a coach can do, but you see with Bennett the magic dust he's got with players. It's fucking so good to watch, and I just genuinely believe that Dave Fafita, if I'm a Souths fan, I'm pretty confident that we will see the best out of him. And if you've got Payne Haas, he'll be 27, 28 years old when he gets to South Sydney. If he's in his career best form, and then you've got David Fafita in career best form, Tallis Duncan, a young local junior, I think he is coming through the ranks. I'm pretty sure he played in the local junior area for South Sydney. Like, you've got these players, Cameron Murray, like they're not at the later stages of their career. They're halfway through their career. They're at their peak. And Jai Arrow, sure, in the forward pack, he might be at the later stage of his career, but you might have Brandon Smith as the 14 coming on playing lock or dummy half or front row. Like, you look at that forward pack and you're up against it. If you're a South Sydney fan, I think it's the best signing the club has had in the NRL era. I know that's massive, but when Sam Burgess came to the club in what was it, 2009, 2010, he was known of, and people had known his name, but he wasn't the class at the moment that Payne Haas is. He ended up being one of the best lock forwards, front rowers that the game has seen. Sam Burgess, he's up there with, the best of the best in the NRL era. But Payne Haas going to South Sydney, for me, I think it's the biggest signing in the last decade of the NRL. I really do. Like, who else was bigger? Sure, you've got, players like Kalen Ponga from the Cowboys to Newcastle, but at the time, Kalen Ponga wasn't even properly proven. He'd only played a few games at the Cowboys. Mitchell Pearce from the Roosters to the Knights, but, you're talking about players that are in the early stages of their career and the back end of their career, but Payne Haas is entering his fucking prime years now. That's the scary thing. So what he is doing at South Sydney, unbelievable. Like what he's doing at the Broncos now, unbelievable. And I genuinely believe if the Broncos didn't win a comp last year, if they lost that grand final to Melbourne, I think there's a big world where he stays at Brisbane and he does not leave until he wins that premiership at the Brisbane Broncos. Now, if you're a Broncos fan, how do you feel about this? We're 48 hours after the signing. Leave a comment how you feel. If I'm a Broncos fan, and I know it's easy for me to say this because I don't support the Broncos, but you can't be angry at him, can you? Like, he's got you from a wooden spoon to a premiership, and you don't win that grand final last year. I know we talk about Reece Walsh and one of the best individual, in my opinion, the best individual performance of a grand final we've ever fucking seen in the NRL era, at least. Like, unfucking believable. But Payne Haas sets the platform. He is the Brisbane Broncos. Reece Walsh cannot truly do what he can do without Payne Haas in that grand final. Like, you know what you're going to get from Haas, and just Haas and his aura, just him being on the field as a Broncos player, that just must give you confidence that you can get the job done. His leadership on and off the field, just a quality of a human, a quality of a player. He's the full package, and absolute credit to South Sydney for signing him. Like, you have to be so excited. Keon Kalamatangi moves to the Dragons at the end of this year, and you replace him with Payne Haas. Like, that is... when Keon signed with the Dragons, I thought, fuck, like, they've already got some issues in the forward pack at the moment. South Sydney, Totola's having an injury run at the moment. But if they sign Payne Haas, holy shit, like, that is just, they just go from a a team that is just inconsistent in and out of finals to a dead set, genuine premiership winning threat. Now, I might say that, and people may leave a comment saying, well, hang on, how can they be a premiership threat if they don't have their halves sorted? Well, Cody Walker, for me, sure, he's at the back end of his career, but he can win a premiership at 5'8" still, without a doubt. He can definitely still be a premiership winning player at South Sydney wearing the number 6 jersey. But for me, there's talk. I'm hearing about this kid called Jonah Glover that the Rabbitohs have bought from the Dragons. And I'm listening to other podcasts as well, and I'm reading on Code Sports. And there's talk about Jonah Glover possibly starting the season as the number 7. And they have options too. They've got Jamie Humphries, Jonah Glover, Ashton Ward, Bud Sullivan. For me, Bud Sullivan is probably a utility on the bench. I just don't know if he's a starting half. But Jonah Glover, I've seen a bit of him in reserve grade, and fuck, he was a standout in all those games I watched. I've probably seen him play 4 or 5 games, and he was a standout. Like, he genuinely was. So for me, I could see a world where he could play a really good year in the number 7 jersey. And, I think, if they can get that sorted, if they can get their halves sorted, I mean, at the end of the day, no matter who they put in the halves, if you've got the platform set and ready for you, like, I might be wrong there. Like, it does matter who you put in the halves, but I just think they have options. I thought Ashton Ward last year, he may not be the biggest player. He may be the smallest player I've ever seen since Preston Campbell. But fucking hell, remember that chase down on, I think it was Brendan Piakura last year at Suncorp Stadium, where Souths were losing by 50 points or so, and Ashton Ward sprinted 60, 70 metres to tackle Brendan Piakura. And it was just such a great thing to see. It was just that South Sydney Rabbitohs mentality. It was so great to watch. As a rugby league fan, you just appreciated this little bloke who probably gets smashed up every week, but somehow finds a way to show that he cares and bleeds for that fucking jersey, and he will do anything it takes to make sure that, sure, the game was lost at the time, but to make sure that points will not be scored against them anymore. He just did a phenomenal job, Ashton Ward, with the few games he played. He carved up the Dragons the later stages of the year in that number 6 jersey. Look, I think for me, Ashton Ward is a big shot too of starting in the halves. I just thought what he showed last year to Wayne Bennett is he's a player that will fucking deliver. And he seems like he's a player. If you're a coach, you're on the coaching staff, he's the player you reckon you can trust with what he showed with his attitude. But yeah, they've got to get their halves sorted, but I genuinely believe that I reckon they will by the end of this year. I reckon this time next year, going into 2027, you're going to know exactly who the number 6 is going to be. In my opinion, Cody Walker. And then the number 7, I just don't want them to put Whiten at 6, and I don't want them to put Walker at 7, because I just think Walker, like Lachlan Galvin, right? I just think Walker is just a genuine 6. He's just a 6. Like Cliffy Lyons was a genuine 6. He reminds me of Cody Walker. Like Cody Walker reminds me of Cliffy Lyons. Like they've just got this natural ability. If when you watch them, they just look like absolute fucking magicians, where you don't even know what they're going to do next. I don't think even the players at South Sydney at times even know what Cody Walker's going to do next. I don't even know if Cody Walker knows what Cody Walker's going to do next. So if South Sydney can fix their halves issue, know who their 6 and 7 will be by the end of the year, which I genuinely believe they will, then I reckon they're a big shot of winning the premiership in 2027 to 2029, that 3-year window. Look, they can win it this year. I don't think they will, but I reckon they can make finals this year. But with Payne, Haas in the side, 27, 28, 29, I reckon they could definitely win their first premiership since 2014. And sure, I know one player can't just win you a comp, but I just believe South Sydney are missing that one fucking superstar forward that can help not only just be the presence on the field, but help these younger kids come up the ranks, be a leader, be a coach off the field too at training. Payne Haas, what a signing. For me, the best signing in NRL history. I genuinely know that is a huge call, but you're talking about the best front rower, that there are fucking front rowers out there that standards Shane Webke and all these other great front rowers saying that the best they've seen is Payne Haas. Like that is unbelievable. That is so good to hear the quality of front rowers in our game that we've had. And they're saying, mate, Payne Haas is the best we've ever seen. That goes to show that Payne Haas is the best of the best. And for me, I just think, I genuinely think Payne Haas could end up being an immortal. Like, I don't think there's enough talk about it. I really don't. Like, he needs to be. For me, like, he sure, he's won one premiership, but winning one premiership is so fucking hard to do. But to get it side from, like, we're halfway through his fucking career. What did he debut? I'm going to say 2018 under Bennett. Bennett's last year at the Broncos. I'm going to say I think he debuted off the bench from memory. I think, well, it's 2026 now. I think he's only halfway through his fucking career. If he stays in the NRL, if he doesn't end up going to R360 after South Sydney, I think he can absolutely dominate. Going to be really interesting to see too with Payne Haas what they do in terms of, like, has he got clauses in his contract? So if there are no clauses, as South Sydney just have him for those 3 years, mate, unfucking believable. But I'm not sure. It hasn't been revealed yet whether or not there are clauses in his contract about whether or not in his final year, if R360 get underway, if he can leave Souths after 2 years. I'd like not to think so. I love South Sydney as a club. They're my second favourite team. They really are. I fucking love South Sydney, and I want to see them win a premiership within the next few years. And I genuinely believe they will. Get your halves sorted, and then Payne Haas. Just the aura of him being in that side, coached by Wayne Bennett. I mean, you look at Payne Haas now and how well he's playing. And I talked about earlier in this podcast about how Bennett can get the best out of players. Well, to think that Payne Haas may not even be at his best now fucking frightens me. Absolutely frightens me as a rugby league. It excites me, but it frightens me as a Manly fan who, we haven't won a comp for 15, 16 years. Sure, it's not a huge drought considering other clubs out there, like the Parramatta Eels, respectively. But, 40 years now since Parramatta won a comp. 86 was their last one, was it? Yeah. So, yeah, I think what a fantastic signing. Absolute fantastic signing. Let me know in the comments if you think it's the best signing in NRL history. Because in my opinion, I think it's the biggest bombshell. I mean, no one fucking knew it was coming. That goes to show the professionalism of what is happening at South Sydney at the moment under Wayne Bennett. Sure, they didn't make the 8 last year, but Wayne Bennett said in his 40 or almost 50-year coaching career, remember too, he went to the Canberra Raiders to start his first grade coaching career, but he was in the Queensland Cup coaching before that for 10 years. And he said in his coaching career, he'd never seen a bigger injury toll than what South had to have last year. They couldn't even they couldn't have an 18th man at one point. They were fucked. Like, the injury toll was absolutely massive. And, the signing of Lewis Dodd didn't work out. But I genuinely believe that, if they can set a platform this year, if they can make finals this year, and there is a fucking world where they can make the grand final. I don't think they'll win the comp, but there is a fucking world where they can make the grand final. If they get their position sorted, if Jai Gray is the fullback long term, Latrell Mitchell just stay in the fucking centre position, look at the players, the quality of players that Payne Haas will get play with. And it's not just that. I genuinely believe that Payne Haas will get the best out of these players. Latrell Mitchell, Jack White, and get them playing at a real consistent level. Cody Walker, I just think it's going to be a really, really good season for South Sydney this year. But next year, that 3-year premiership window will be well and truly open for South Sydney fans to celebrate another premiership, and the first premiership since 2014. Well, that is the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran, and that is the Payne Haas chat for today. Please subscribe on YouTube and follow on Spotify if you haven't done so already. Cheers.